Hey guys, alright, so this is the second installment of a 5-part series covering my Q&A for the Pacific Crest Trail 2023. In this video we're going to be going over trails, the trail experience on the PCT, as well as sort of comparing that to the other two trails of the Triple Crown. So here it is. Alright, so for these next few questions we're going to be talking about trails, trail conditions, Triple Crown, stuff like that. So if you're interested in, if you had questions about how I'd compare the trails and stuff like that, this is going to be the section for you. So.
All right, from Arch 23-811, do any of these views just make you lose your emotions when you see them?
There's definitely some views that are pretty spectacular out there. Make me lose my emotions. I've never exploded into a fit of bawling on trail that I can recall, but there's definitely some pretty views out there, and I enjoy them all. Sorry I don't have more for you than that.
But you get emotional when you...
I do get emotional.
Views.
Usually I'll say it's not views I feel like that make me super emotional. The views keep me going, but I'm not seeing a view and just being totally overwhelmed by emotion. Usually if it's a really stunning view, I'll just really, really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. From Robin Finehout, Kimberly Penny, Cairns Rocks, Steven Nola, and Campogliato. Positive, negatives of each three. Which is your favorite trail and state? If you had to do it again, would you change up the order in which you hiked these three? And which trail would you return to in SoBo?
This is a huge question. I think we're gonna come. Maybe we'll wind up getting through this question and some other questions. The main part of this I wanted to address, the one for which I have the most concise answer, is which trail would I return to SoBo? Continental Divide Trail, I feel like would be the one. Yeah, for sure. I feel like, don't mean any disrespect to the other two trails. The AT I think would be more or less the same if I were to go southbound as it was northbound. The Pacific Crest Trail I feel much the same, except way harder in the desert once all the water's dried up. For that matter, probably way easier in the Sierra without all the snow I had. The Continental Divide Trail, for whatever reason, as I was hiking along that trail, I felt like, even as I was hiking it, I was like, this trail would be completely different if you were to do it southbound. It would be like a totally different trail.
Interesting.
Like I would know the towns, but I wouldn't know the trail, and that would be cool. So the rest of these I think we'll address in further questions.
Okay. From Kimberly Penny, Robin Finehout, Anita Backroads Only, Richard in Japan, and Rocky Mountain Way. How was it camping in groups most of the time? Do you prefer the solitude? Did the PCT meet your expectations? Favorite / most scenic section in each state? Which would you feel like hiking again? And what was the hardest part? Lots of questions.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions there. All right, well, definitely I don't enjoy camping in groups. That was something that I was kind of getting bummed out about, particularly in that first 700-mile stretch of the PCT, where I felt like every single night I was camped with 10 to 15 people, and it was just an army. I mean, I like people, I like meeting people, but I love being out there alone, kind of, and seeing people maybe, or seeing people in town for sure. But as far as camping in groups, I don't like it. I mean, either I'm going to be making too much noise for someone else, or someone else is going to be making too much noise for me, and it's just busy. I don't really like it. I do prefer the solitude, to answer the second point, if you haven't already gleaned that. Third question, does the PCT meet your expectations? I think so. Definitely the PCT is known for its amazing views, and it did not disappoint. There are some spectacular views on the PCT, so I think it met my expectations in that respect. Favorite most scenic sections in each state? All right, so I had to make a list of this because I wanted to give an honest answer, so pardon me as I read my sheet here. Sections in California, there was just so many good sections. So I really enjoyed the climb out of Scissors Crossing, which is by Julian. That was great. That was on day 6. There was just a real exciting super bloom happening on that climb. It was a decently hard climb, not crazy, but a decently hard climb. But the super bloom and the diversity of plant life was spectacular. Really nice. I also really enjoyed getting to the top of Mather Pass in the Sierra. That was day 63. We just had this most amazing sunrise that morning, and it was super beautiful. Mather Pass, of course, is a super daunting, super technical pass, particularly in the record snow year of 2023. And we were super rewarded with just an amazing sunrise up there. I also really enjoyed the 3rd of July being at Lake Aloha in the Destination Wilderness. This was on day 91, right around South Lake Tahoe. We did a little slack pack through the south half of Desolation Wilderness, and that whole south half of Desolation Wilderness was exceptionally beautiful. I'm sure it is in usual situations too, but there was something about the snow that was out there that really, it was so beautiful. Desolation Wilderness was fantastic. In Oregon, Crater Lake, of course. Crater Lake and Mount Thielsen, excuse me. This is day 126, 127. Crater Lake and Mount Thielsen were amazingly beautiful. I mean, spectacular. Also, I was at, let's see, Goat Rocks Wilderness. That's in Washington. Goat Rocks Wilderness, that knife's edge along there was fantastic. Really enjoyed the Goat Rocks Wilderness. And the final note I made was the climb up from Snoqualmie along Chickaman Ridge. That was day 152. The climb from Snoqualmie along Chickaman Ridge was fantastic as well.
From Richard in Japan, as you look back over the 3 trails, how would you rate them best to worst in terms of 4 different criteria? Ease in route finding.
All right, so this one too, I made a list and considered it in advance. So ease in route finding, certainly the Appalachian Trail is the easiest. Blazes every like 100 feet, super easy. I don't know how you get lost in the AT. The second would be the PCT, I'd say, in normal conditions. Here's another thing I'll mention about Richard's original question, was that he specifically asked me to disregard the difficulty of the Sierra when considering these answers. So again, particularly challenging year in the Sierra, and according to Richard's criteria, I'm supposed to ignore the difficulty of the Sierra when considering my answers. So easiest AT, middle be the PCT, and far and away the CDT is the hardest to find routes. It can be challenging.
All right. For ease in hiking.
Ease in hiking, I'd say easiest would be the PCT, again, not counting the Sierra. And then, honestly, probably the CDT, and then the AT last. This is mainly what I'm considering here is just the elevation shift and the grades. The AT has severe elevation shift and severe grades compared to the other two, which have far less in the way of elevation and grade.
Interesting. Financial commitment.
This is a hard question, and I'll return to this later when people are asking about finances of the hikes, because I deliberately don't track how much money I spend. I'm sorry. If I had to guess, I would guess that the AT is cheapest because there's so many hostels and everything along the way, and there's so many cheap towns and this and that. Although the frequency of towns means that you can inadvertently wind up spending way more money on town foods and beers and stuff. I would guess that the AT is the cheapest. I would guess that the CDT is next, and I would guess that the PCT is probably the most expensive because you're moving through so many population centers, and a lot of the towns along the PCT are designed, I should say a lot of the towns throughout, particularly Southern California, through the Sierra, all the towns that you're visiting basically south of like Tahoe or Quincy, which is to say the first 1,200 miles of the trail, are all these towns which cater to coastal money. So you have all the people from San Diego and Los Angeles, San Francisco, all dumping up to the mountains to spend their money in these resort towns. And so hotels are expensive, restaurants are expensive, and this and that. I mean, I think when we were in South Lake Tahoe, granted it was the 4th of July, but when we were in South Lake Tahoe, thank you again to Kathy who put us up, because the Motel 6 in South Lake Tahoe on the 4th of July was $400 a night. The Motel 6 in Mammoth, I think, was $250 a night or something like that. Wow. Insane.
Wow. And psychological toll.
So psychological toll, again, I would say that the hardest psychologically, if I'm considering the Sierra, far and away the PCT because of the Sierra. But if I can't consider that, I would say the CDT for sure is psychologically challenging. The desert on the CDT is no joke compared to the desert on the PCT, which was pretty manageable, I found. And then the CDT, you're just so frequently so remote that, I mean, if you're geared for it, which I think I was, I enjoyed it, but it can get to you too. The remoteness of it can get to you. So I'd say the CDT, probably the least psychologically challenging. I put the PCT as like middle and the AT is the easiest, but I'm reconsidering that because the AT can be very challenging if you find yourself on a 7-day stretch of ceaseless rain, which happens on the AT. That is super, super challenging psychologically. So I don't know. Maybe the PCT would be middle. Maybe the AT would be the easiest. But boy, there's nothing easy about hiking through 7 days of ceaseless rain.
Yeah.
So
I remember in one of your videos from the AT, you had that like Bruce Lee quote. Like you were in one of those like 7-day stretches of rain, and it was like, "When it rains, be water."
yeah,
Or
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. I have that 8 mantras video
Yeah.
or something. Yeah.
All right. Martin from Holland. What was the difference? What was the difference between the CDT and PCT for you? It seems to me that the PCT was extremely tough because of the snow. On the other hand, I see a lot of hikers for company and shops to resupply. The CDT was sometimes very lonely and remote.
Hey, Martin. How you doing? Great to hear from Martin. How do they compare? I mean, again, I feel like of the 3 trails that I did, the only one I did in a way that I think would translate to other people would be the CDT. And what I mean by that is the AT I did February to July. The PCT I went in the highest snow year ever recorded. The CDT I had a pretty straightforward year. So to come back to Martin's question, what's the difference between the CDT and the PCT? I really loved the CDT. I loved the remoteness of the PCT. I don't think Martin's absolutely correct that the CDT could be lonely sometimes. But I felt like I enjoyed that part of it. I enjoyed the remoteness and the scarcity of people. I thought it was really cool. I thought the towns were awesome and small and unique and just had so much character, even at their most frustratingly small and, like, I don't know, inconvenient. They just had so much character to them. The PCT, as I already said, I think a lot of the towns on the PCT, especially the first, the south half basically of the trail, it's different. Unlike the other 2 trails, where, at least on the AT, there's so much infrastructure designed specifically for trails. There's trail angels, there's hostels, there's blah, 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 all this stuff specifically for the trail. The CDT, there's just not generally a lot of infrastructure at all, so you can kind of snap into that too. And then the PCT, I felt like every single town I went into for the first half of the trail, it was all clearly people from population centers who were escaping the heat of their homes or escaping the smoke of their areas or whatever, just trying to go out and vibe out in nature or whatever. So you had all these towns that were used to catering to tourists. It was like a regional destination for tourism, and that was not something I had really experienced on either of the other 2 trails. And honestly, again, I think that was just a little frustrating, because now I was gaining neither insights into what the local area was like, nor was I capitalizing on the cheap prices of a place that doesn't really cater to tourism. So, I mean, I guess in a way it's nice because there's some nice restaurants or whatever else, but in a way it's also like, I don't really want to be on this wilderness hike seeing a bunch of like San Francisco Giants ball hats and,
Yeah.
San Diego Padres ball caps and stuff like this. Not that, no disrespect to those teams, but it was just different. So in that respect, the PCT had a lot more of that. And there was definitely more shops for resupply and stuff on the PCT than the CDT. So that was nice. That was a nice part about it. I think that answers Martin's question.
Yeah.
If not, Martin, just WhatsApp me, bud. We can have a conversation.
A 3-parter from Campbell Yato. Find the difference between the stereotypes and reality for the AT, CDT, PCT. Alternatively, in what ways did each trail diverge from your preconceptions?
So again, I think I've already addressed some of this. The stereotype of the AT is that it's a huge slamming party all the time. I didn't really experience that, but again, I started in February and ended in July. So I thought the AT was fine. I was hiking around, people who were taking their hike seriously for the most part, and that was fine. CDT, the stereotype around the CDT, is if you try it, you'll probably wind up dying. That's not the results that I had. That's not the experience I had, clearly. I loved the CDT. The stereotype for the PCT, I don't even know what the stereotype for the PCT is. I guess that it's busy and beautiful, and I did find it to be both of those. Alternatively, in what ways do trails diverge from my preconceptions? Well, there is also the stereotype that the PCT is very easy. This is why I saved it for last, was I had heard from other hikers that the CDT is the hardest and the PCT is the easiest, or that the AT is topographically the hardest, but I did that one first. So of the remaining trails after I did the AT, the CDT was going to be harder than the PCT. So I decided to do the PCT last, and then I think that the mountains sort of sensed my trying to save the easy one for last and took that personally. And so we got that record snow year, and the PCT I did not find to be very easy at all, largely because of the snow in the Sierra. So I'd be curious whether the PCT, I mean, certainly it would have been easier without that snow, but I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that question. I think I've already hedged around it enough.
Yeah. Give each Triple Crown Trail a novel or film doppelganger.
I don't know how to answer this question. I thought about it and I decided if I dedicated myself to coming up with an earnest answer, it would take me probably weeks or months to come up with an answer that satisfied me. So I'm going to ignore this question. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do with that question.
Wow.
Yeah.
Best Triple Crown, Trail Town, Breakfast, Gastropub, Hostel.
All right. So for this, I did give it a ton of serious thought, and we'll go through issue by issue. So for town, I came up with a few answers. If it warranted a few answers, I gave a few answers. So for the best trail town on each of the 3 trails. On the AT, Hanover, New Hampshire is amazing. Monson, Maine is amazing. And Hot Springs, North Carolina is amazing. For the CDT, Silver City is amazing, which is kind of a shame because you hit it so early on the hike. I think it was on day 9 and 10 when I hit Silver City, New Mexico. And I was like, dude, if all the towns are like this trail is going to be great. It was the only town like that. Silver City is one of a kind, super, super amazing town. Also on the CDT, I really enjoyed Pagosa Springs. I enjoyed Lander. I enjoyed Pinedale quite a bit. Pinedale, not because it's got the most character necessarily, but it is probably the most concise town on any of the 3 trails. It's got an outfitter. It's got an amazing little hostel. It's got a grocery store. It's got a brew pub right there. I mean, it's got everything you need, and it's super small, super awesome little town, Pinedale, Wyoming. And then on the PCT, I loved Bishop, California. Etna is amazing, and Leavenworth, Washington, I thought was pretty neat, the little German town up in Washington. So that's towns. And as far as breakfasts, on the AT, I have to give it to Harrison's Pierce Pond Camp in Maine. Really loved that guy up there. I mean, they were just amazing. What an amazing experience. Harrison's Pierce Pond Camp, just half a day south of the Kennebec River. I also really enjoyed the breakfast in Carabasset, and Monson, of course, Poet up at Shaw's Hiker Hostel does an amazing breakfast in Monson. CDT, Adobe Springs in the aforementioned Silver City, New Mexico, has an amazing breakfast. On the PCT, Morning Thunder in Quincy was amazing. The Farmhouse Bakery in Etna, California, shout out to Etna again. And then the Stehekin Pastry Company in Stehekin, Washington. Those are the breakfasts that I loved. Gastropubs. I don't really know exactly what defines a gastropub, so I kind of just went with what I thought that means. On the AT, Madison Brew Pub in Bennington, Vermont was amazing. CDT, really loved Wind River Brew Pub in the aforementioned Pinedale, Wyoming. And then I don't remember the specific spots we went to, but I know that Steamboat Springs and Bozeman both had amazing bar options and nice gastropub type places. PCT, really loved 1501 Uptown Gastropub in Palm Springs. They were amazing, took great care of me, super friendly folks, great spot. Loved Julian Beer Company and Julian, of course. Quintopia Brewing in Quincy was fantastic, as was Denny Bar Company in Etna. So this is the 3rd call out for Etna at this point. If you're not sensing a theme by now, I really enjoyed Etna. Denny Bar Company, I really got it. They're above and beyond spectacular. That was just a really cool spot in a microscopically small town. So, and as far as hostels, far and away the AT takes the cake. I really enjoyed Chica and Sunsets in Franklin, Tennessee. They're amazing. Hi Chica, hi Sunsets. Boots Off Hostel in Hampton, Tennessee. They're amazing. Lickskillet Hostel in Bland, Virginia. This is Mongo down there at Lickskillet. Super dude, super place. Deerhead Inn, which is not at all a hostel. It's a kind of Tony hotel, but I'd be remiss for not mentioning them because they're exceptional. They're in Delaware Water Gap, Pennsylvania. Dowd's Country Inn and Tavern in Lyme, New Hampshire. They were amazing. I mean, there's so many places to shout out on the AT. The Cabin in Andover, Maine. They're amazing. The Hostel of Maine in Carabasset Valley took great care of me when I was laid up for a few days with a broken hand. And then, of course, Shaw's in Monson, spectacular spot as well. On the CDT, I loved Triple Crown. Unfortunately, he shut it down. He's decided not to run the hostel anymore, and he's instead just renting out his house the old-fashioned way. But Triple Crown Hostel in Silver City, New Mexico was amazing. Davila Ranch in just south of Pie Town on the CDT was amazing as well. John Davila hung out with us when I went through, and he's just a super dude, super place that he's got. And then way up at the north side of the trail, Luna's Looking Glass in East Glacier, Montana. Fantastic spot as well. Definitely, if you're on the CDT, you want to check out Luna's. Finally, hostels on the PCT. Really enjoyed Joshua Inn. It's not a hostel, it's like a roadside honky-tonk biker bar in the middle of nowhere near Hesperia, California. But just so amazingly trail. Like, the spot was spectacular. Super friendly people. You know, it was just spectacular. Joshua Inn on the PCT. Kennedy Meadows North at Sonora Pass. I thought they were super duper, super great stop as well. Kennedy Meadows North was fantastic. Bluebird Inn in Etna, California. Spectacular spot. They took great care of me. Wonderful spot. And I also got a shout out the Washington Alpine Club in Snoqualmie. Also took great care of me. Super friendly folks. One of the guys who was volunteering there offered to mail a box for me. So I Venmo'd him $20 to mail the box. When I got the box in Stehekin, he wound up spending $46 to mail it, but luckily I had Venmo'd him, so I still has information.
Yeah.
Pulled it up and I sent him the difference. I was like, dude, thank you so much for taking care of that. And I sent him the difference, you know, $30 or whatever, and he spit it right back with a message. He just sent that $30 back to me. Call it trail magic.
Aw.
You know, whatever. I wanted to make sure it was there for you. So, yeah, Washington Alpine Club, super duper people up in Snoqualmie. All right, awesome guys. Really hope you enjoyed that video of my trail experience on the PCT and comparing that to the Triple Crown. In my next video, we're going to be going over my hike and my method for the PCT. Groups most of the time. I don't really like camping in groups.
No?
The first like 700 miles of the trail, I felt like every single night I was camped with like 10 or 15 other people, and that was just super busy. I like people, but this is not really why I'm out there. I mean, this is why I started the Appalachian Trail in February, was just to avoid that group and that bubble. More children.
Ew.
Gross. What is wrong with them? Why are they so small?
Why are they so loud?
Why are they small and loud?
Why are they laughing?
Why are they stupid?
Why are they filled with so much
How
joy?
come they don't have any money?
Where's their water?
Who are their grown-ups? Where's their water?
I don't know. They're walking in the woods. I feel like they need water.
Ugh.
Ugh. So loud. Sticky.
Alright.
Okay.
So how's the camping in Greenland?